Hey real estate nerds, this is Alex Yoder with Pro Tip Tuesday, my favorite day of the week, and today I want to talk about HB 25-1249. This is a bill that was passed here in 2025 in Colorado, and it goes into effect fully on January 1st. Specifically, we want to talk about joint walkthroughs. So this video is all about joint walkthroughs. There are some other items that I've addressed that are in this bill as a whole in previous videos, but again, we're going to be kind of zooming in on the joint walkthrough piece. So a couple things as we go through this. First of all, this joint walkthrough can be conducted in person or via telecommunication assisted interaction. So again, it doesn't have to be face-to-face. That may be important for some of you because if you are walking through a home by yourself potentially, with a possibly upset person, that may not be a safe interaction. So for safety reasons, I know quite a few housing providers are planning on doing this via a telecommunication assisted interaction as opposed to a joint walkthrough. Make your own decisions, take your own risks, but that's something to be aware of, that is an option if you are concerned about the safety element of walking through the home by yourself with this person. Additionally, the intent of this walkthrough is to identify in writing any damage or defective conditions that are beyond normal wear and tear and that do not pre-exist the tenancy. So that is the intent of this walkthrough. It's worth mentioning that doing a full analysis of what exactly was pre-existing and what wasn't is an extended process, and we don't interpret this bill as requiring that you know all of that going into the meeting, because you really, in my opinion, are going to want to hear the tenant out, hear what they have to say about any possible pre-existing conditions, and then go spend time deep diving photos and move in and move out comparison data to determine sort of what was pre-existing and what was not, and to determine what is normal wear and tear and what is not. Again, that is an extended process of evaluation, sometimes involving your attorney to determine exactly what's normal wear and tear and not, and then considering other things like depreciated value and this kind of stuff. So our interpretation, again, is that you don't need to have all the answers on the spot. So really the intent here is to hear the tenant out on what they kind of want to say as they're exiting the property and on any condition concerns or notes. It does indicate, as I mentioned, that it has to be identified in writing. So one thing that we're planning on doing, again, do it how you want to do it, but this is how we're planning on doing it, is handling this via Zoom. We already have a Zoom account. Everyone pretty much knows how to use Zoom after 2020. And so we're going to be using Zoom, and we're going to have the tenant walk us through the property for safety reasons. And the beauty of that is that with Zoom and some of these platforms, you can integrate AI, and when the meeting is over, you will get a full transcript of what was discussed during that conversation. So you are by default, without any additional effort, getting a written document in writing of what was discussed. And since that's part of the requirements outlined here in this bill, you're going to want to have something in writing, and doing it that way would really save you a lot of time, in our opinion. And then you can save that transcript on the tenant file, and if it comes up later, you'll have that to show proof that you did put it in writing. We feel that that's probably safe, but as always, speak with your counsel to make sure that you are making your business decisions on how you want to position that. Lastly, something that's important is as far as the actual scheduled date for performing these walkthroughs, it has to be on a mutually convenient time. So it has to be convenient to both parties. So tenants can't just force you to be there on Tuesday at 1, because that's when they're leaving at 2 p.m. and you may not be available. It has to be mutually convenient. And it has to be before the termination of the lease or the surrender of the premises, and after the tenant has had the opportunity to remove furniture. So they have to be fully out of the home and before they've actually returned keys. So keep that in mind. It cannot be something that we do after they've returned keys or after possession is returned. It has to be before that and after that furniture is gone. Now, one thing that we are planning on doing, because it doesn't really identify how long you have to give them, and while we care about giving people the opportunity to share any concerns they have if they do want to do one of these joint walkthroughs, We feel like that should be able to be accomplished in about 30 minutes in most cases. So we are going to be putting a timeline on this. I think that I've had experience in years past where I would do joint walkthroughs with tenants, even face to face. And sometimes they went on for 2 or 3 hours because people will just frankly telling you their life story and everything that's ever happened to the house. And in this, hopefully, putting a timeline would be our recommendation so that you can kind of keep things on point and on target and just get everything kind of bullet pointed for that walkthrough. And I'll end this by kind of sharing, just kind of maybe recapping as far as that identification of items beyond normal wear and tear that did not pre-exist the tenancy. We don't interpret this law as saying you have to know in that moment. So, because it is a process, you're not going to know in that moment. So again, sometimes you have to speak with attorneys, sometimes you have to deep dive, move in, move out photos, and all this kind of stuff. So in our interpretation, this is an opportunity for the tenant to bring up things that they believe would be beyond normal wear and tear, or may not be beyond normal wear and tear, and kind of make their case in sort of a quick walkthrough of the property. Hopefully this was helpful, and a reminder that this kicks off January 1st of 2026 here in Colorado. So if you get a request, you're going to have to work to accommodate it within the provisions of this bill. And in closing, go read it yourself. It would not be a bad idea. There are several other points in this bill that are going to change the way that we kind of operate as housing providers. And again, the bill is 25-1249, HB 25-1249. If you go to the Colorado General Assembly website, under the search box, you can type that in and pull the whole bill up real easy. So hopefully this was helpful. We'll see you next week.